Okay, we're on.
All right, there we go. As usual, guys, on a Monday we do have Andre Brits here from Titan Sure, giving us some updates on, of course, finance and all matters financial. And as we were talking earlier, Andre, and saying, drugs, it is becoming a problem, and it's affecting our economy at the end of the day. Therefore, not therefore, also for other reasons, we brought in Pastor Dave Barber this morning. Pastor Dave, firstly, good morning. How are you on this lovely cold Monday morning?
Yeah, I'm actually okay, thank you. Managed to get a decent night's sleep last night. I was watching that Conor Ben, Eubank Jr. fight. We had a little get-together of a couple of mates and we were watching that, but unfortunately everyone else was falling asleep, so they left. And I stayed up and I watched it. So I was pucha yesterday, but last night I slept like a machine. So I'm good. Thank you.
All right, so the reason we brought you all the way up here to Meyerton this morning from your lovely small holding up there. You were obviously voted in as the chairman. What do they call it? The Drug Council?
The local Drug Action Committee, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so obviously expecting great things to come from that. We all are. So what is the purpose of this council?
Okay, so under the Act, you have a statute that states that you have to form a national body, which is called the Central Drug Authority, that is responsible to write the National Drug Master Plan of how it is going to, I don't like using the word attack, but it's the right word, attack the drug problem in the country. And then under the CDA, then there has to be a provincial body, which is a provincial drug body. And then under the provincial drug body, you have to have, under each municipality, a local drug action committee. But the truth of it is that they've attempted to set up these local drug action committees around the country. And from what I know, it's nothing new, but from what I've heard, is they've shown literally zero success nationally. So Mayor Peter Teixeira has made it very clear from day one when we walked into the first thing which we had at the municipality, where they signed everyone up that was interested in holding hands with the municipality to do this, that he is absolutely committed to this thing succeeding. So if people are not committed to the success of this, then they shouldn't really involve themselves. And we were about 200 and something people at that first meeting. And then the second meeting, I think we were down to about 35, And then from that 35, they wanted you to submit your name if you wanted to be nominated. So I raised an objection and I said, look, for us to submit our own names, I think, for me personally, shows, a type of arrogance, if you will. And I said, well, I would prefer if the municipality nominated names and then the people within the committee can vote on those names, which everyone voted in favor of that. And then my name came up, myself and I think there's 3 other people. And then we had to leave the room. And then when we came back, they said, right, well, you've been nominated as chairman, you're vice chairman, you're secretary, and I think there's a treasurer as well. I would have preferred treasurer. But yeah, I was pretty shocked. I must be honest with you. I didn't see that coming. Honestly, I didn't see it coming. And to be fair, I take responsibility very seriously. And in my mind, this is a massive responsibility, But ultimately, the mission is then to use this, succeed, absolutely succeed and make a difference. And then from there, hopefully move forward to provincial and possibly even go to Central Drug Authority. Because once you're in Central Drug Authority, then you're involved with top-level government and you can formulate policy. And that's where it needs to change, is with policy. The policy, in my view, is mightily flawed. but I don't have a say in that. I've got to work within that policy and within that framework now. So, but within that policy and within that framework, I'm sure we can definitely, because I see around that table we had a lot of motivated people. Let me tell you something. There were people there from every ambit of the problem. We had, like on the 21st of November, we've got this gender-based violence thing, and I would like people to climb on board with that, because drug abuse and gender-based violence are Siamese twins. Yeah, and we've got people there from Deaf SA, we've got people there from mental health, we've got people there from SAPS, and a lot of dedicated people from SAPS. We've got people there from Midval, Metro cops. We've got social workers. We've got, obviously, the municipality themselves are involved. I know that Mayor Texera is rejuvenating this peace officer thing here in Midval. So I think that we're going to have a lot of tools at our disposal that we can, if we can work together and not make this a political thing, but make this an effort to really help the community and not fight internally about positions and junk, then we can really, we can make a huge impact. Yeah.
Make a difference.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Now, obviously, I know your background, but I think a lot of the listeners not used to tuning in on a Monday, hearing you. Just give us a bit of background on why you would be the right person to lead this. Well, and I'm not asking you to blow your own trumpet here today. It's just obviously you have certain qualifications.
Yeah, look, let me just give you a rundown. So of, basically my track record, if you will. First of all, I never saw myself in this position. I've always wanted to be involved in some way or form in the policy, to try and get the Central Drug Authority to listen to me and possibly use some of my ideas going forward. So, I have some major fundamental differences before I get to the qualifications with the methodologies that are employed in drug rehabilitation in South Africa. The main reason I have an issue with them is the perspective from which they view drug rehabilitation. But that's my own personal thing, right? But I just don't understand why we're not creating our own methodologies for our own culture and for our own people, and why we're importing Anglo-American drug rehabilitation policies and trying to enforce Anglo-American drug rehabilitation policies and methodologies on people that don't understand the culture of Americanized rehabilitation. They approach it purely from a psychiatric clinical view. And the reality and the truth of it is the vast majority of people who recover, whether it be through Narcotics Anonymous, whether it be through us, whether it be through ever, most people recover because they have a spiritual epiphany. It's just a fact. If you look at NA, it's higher power philosophy, AA, higher power philosophy. Us with Christian-based rehabilitation, it's faith-based, Jesus Christ-based philosophy, higher power philosophy. The people that truly recover have the spiritual renewal, putting your faith in a power greater than yourself because you are powerless over your addiction. So, and then, they then employing this Minnesota model and this clinical model, and they're trying to medicate people out of drug addiction, which is impossible. You're dealing with people that have a problem with medication, whether that medication is legal, illegal, whether you can buy it in a bottle store, at a cannabis shop, it's a medication. And people become addicted to these medications. Then they get a clinical diagnosis, and then they try and find pre-existent disorders that they try and medicate in order to get this person out of their medical problem. And it simply doesn't work. 5% recovery is not success. So my view is that we must sit around a table and we must speak about what is going to best impact South Africans, and we must formulate our own policies and forge a new path in order that we can reach our people, because South Africans are spiritual people. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as that. Whether you African traditional religion, whether you Muslim, whether you Christian, whether you Hindu, whether you Sikh, we are spiritual people. There's a very small portion of people in this country that are secular, but we're trying to ram the secular recovery down their throats. And it's simply not working, and it doesn't work anywhere else in the world. And I've got some controversial ideas as well. But what qualifies me? Okay, 7 years as a cop in Hillbrow, working primarily drugs through my career, ultimately getting addicted to drugs because of it. 16 years of addiction, of which 6.5 of those years were spent in and out of treatment facilities, where I was physically in treatment for 6 years on and off. And, within that experience then was worked up to a position of ultimately becoming the assistant director of, which was at that point the largest faith-based recovery center in South Africa. Worked there for 3 years. And then, had major differences with the methodologies that were being employed there, which we know there were a lot of abuse issues that happened there and so on and so forth. And so I withdrew from that place and I came back to Joburg, started my own aluminium and glass business, was going to now be a businessman, did very well at that also for 2.5 years, but then ultimately relapsed. Ended up completely destroying everything, back to rehab, and had an epiphany, had a spiritual epiphany finally after years and years and years and years in treatment, in faith-based. Finally actually got to a place of complete destruction, had a spiritual epiphany, came out, didn't know what I was going to do. And people just started, and this is the honest truth, people just started arriving at my house looking for help. And you can figure out who sent them there or who didn't send them there or how they got there. Yeah. And now it's 17 years later, and we run one of, I would definitely estimate one of the let's call it top 10. I would go lower than that in terms of, I would go even top 5 in terms of success rates, rehabs in South Africa. And also on my walk now, I'm on the precipice of completing a degree now, also in theology, with the major being counseling. And, we've been involved in activism and rehabilitation. Well, I've been in it since 1997 as a cop, as an addict, as a facilitator, if you want to call it, a patient in a rehab, and now obviously running my own thing with my wife for the last, it's now 17 years we're going. 17 years, yeah. And then, of course, you guys opened this whole jewel here at MCR Radio, and we found our way here, and then through our involvement with you, more people started hearing about us. And then, of course, we had the mayor come to our family day, which was recent. It was amazing. And obviously, he saw something there that he liked. And, the next thing, I was invited to this local drug action formulation. And then a month after that, now, chairman of the whole jewel. So I don't know, exactly. But I'll tell you what, it's a daunting prospect when I sit around the table with those people that are on the ground dealing with the issues that they're dealing with and thinking, well, you're the guy that's now going to have to coordinate all of that. It's a frightening prospect. And all I can say to you is, all I can give you is my best. If my best isn't good enough, then I'm not the man for the job. But I'll give my best, my absolute best, more than my best. I'll give 150, 200% to this thing. And I can certainly say that if people work with me and not against me, and if everybody understands that we all have our own agendas in terms of what we think is the most important thing, but together we have to amalgamate all those agendas in order to reach a success point. And I've got ideas on how to do that. And I think we can really, turn things around to the point where we're not sitting in a crisis in Midwall. And if we can pull it off here, and we do it properly and right here, then we can go provincial, and build our model provincially and make that model a national model. And, I've got an idea already for national. I'm going to put it on radio right now.
All right, before we do that, we're going to take a quick break.
I want the Carlton Hotel.
Yes.
I want the Carlton Hotel. I want them to give me the Carlton Hotel so that I can open an inner city rehab there. And I want to say it live so that they know it's my idea.
All right, we're going to chat. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute or two, and on what you see. Otherwise, we can do going forward. I remember, I mean, when I was a youngster, we had sun up. And even if you didn't do drugs, you heard sun up, you started running. And maybe that's the way to go. But we'll be back in a minute or two and we'll discuss that a little bit more.
Yeah, for my viewers, just hold on. You're going to see me disappear for a minute or two. But just hang on, the live is still continuing. And we're not going anywhere, but we are on radio. So we're piggybacking off Donovan here at MCR. I might not go out. While we're waiting for Donovan,
No, I just wanted us to get coffee.
No, lekker. No, get coffee. You still laugh. But you can pause that one so long. Or actually, no, leave it going. But what do you think of this idea, guys, of Transnet giving us? Remember, you laugh, but on the mic. So
Colton would be the ideal place because of where it's situated. Number one. Number two, it's falling apart, not being used at this stage. I remember they opened some film studios right across the road from there, the Skywing Studios of the older.
Yeah. What's going on with signal here? Right?
Yeah,
It's not Wi-Fi. It's not Wi-Fi. I mean, it's just signal.
Yeah, they did put up a tower though, right?
Yeah, but the closer you are to the tower, the less signal you get. You know that, eh?
Yeah, probably like that.
Top of the morning to you, guys.
Thank you for the gifts, TikTok. Appreciate it. Wow.
I hope they share TikTok.
There was 2 roses, I'll give you one.
Yeah. So, yeah, what do you guys think of us, of Transnet giving us the Carlton Hotel and we redevelop that building that's standing doing nothing and we open an inner city rehab and we manage it free for people, you know? So, you know, if the political parties are listening to this, you know, maybe that's something you should think about. And I want to tell you that substance abuse is a massive, massive problem that's affecting millions and millions of South Africans, potential voters. And if you were to do something about the drug problem, I can promise you that you're going to gain millions and millions of votes. Because drugs are fueling gangsterism, drugs are fueling the killings down in the Cape, drugs are fueling the police corruption, drugs are fueling the government corruption, drugs are fueling human trafficking, drugs are fueling gender-based violence, drugs are fueling homelessness, drugs are fueling every evil, bad thing in this country, femicide, child abuse, everything.
All right, let's do this.
Or not? How do you feel about that?
No, I'm very, very excited of what I'm hearing here. And that is such a blessing, making me very excited to know that it's God's people.
Yeah.
They are in charge of people, of things now.
Yeah.
And then,
All right, we are back. Yes, we just off air having a discussion as well. I should have just left the mic on because so much coming up. Andre, you were saying, Pastor Dave asked you what's your opinion on this and how do you feel about this going forward?
no, I'm very excited, Donovan, knowing that God is sending the people to come and make a change in this
Amen.
country. As you said, we are spiritual people in South Africa. And we are different from the rest of the world. That's why me and another friend of me started seminars with young business people, showing them how to run the business in South Africa, because it's a total different people living in South Africa. So the way we are doing business is different from the rest of the world. And we have to protect that. And we have to protect that caring for our members. We have to protect that caring for our people. And by bringing in the stuff from America and Canada, that is just what nonsense. I'd rather stick to what we have in South Africa. We are unique in South Africa, and that's because we are God's people. And people must realize it. And remember, I told you last week, we mustn't walk with the Bible under our arm and then really crook people. If you say you are a man of God, you are a woman of God, then you have to walk your talk. You can't say I'm a Christian, then the people come out and that guy is a scallop. He says he's a Christian. That's the damage we have in South Africa. But coming back to what Pastor said here, is that he's involved now. There's a reason why God put him there.
I agree with
anything
you.
else. God put him there for a reason. And we are so fortunate in Midvaal with Meyer that is also had the same perspective. I mean, if you go to the meetings of Midvaal, they open with prayer, they open with a word. And even at the Soma, you know, there was part of opening and close of the whole meeting, and the whole time they gave a glory to God what's happening in Midvaal. And that's why Midvaal is so blessed. Because we are doing the things right here in Midvaal. And I want to say that.
I agree with you.
And the people must realize it. There's only one way that you will have a success in this world, and that is to stick to your faith in God. He's the one that will carry you through the storm, not yourself. There's no way in this new modern era that we as people will stay standing in this era, because it's chaos out there. And if you look at the people's finance, if you look at the marriages, if you look at the young people, and I mean, we had a sermon last night, Pastor At of CRC, was speaking to people, and he really provoked the young people yesterday, telling them they must do the best. Nobody is going to do it. You must create your own happiness, and you can do it only with God on your side. To create it, go into your future, do what God called you to do, not what your parents want you to do, but do. And that is where the problem. That's what I want to ask, Pastor. How easy is it, and what is the reason that people become involved in drug addiction?
For me, you know, people ask me this all the time, and you know, you listen to these clinical diatribes that they constantly, you know, homelessness, they tell you, and unemployment, and broken homes, and all of that stuff. And yeah, no, the signal is hectic here. So but honestly, you know, all of that stuff stems all from the same root, whether it's all the, you know, those pre-mentioned things that the clinicians try to point out, mental disorders and all of that type of thing. But let me tell you where it really, really stems from is spiritual bankruptcy.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, spiritual bankruptcy. So what people struggle to understand is that within every human being is a space, a spiritual space within you as your humanity. And that thing demands fulfillment.
Yes.
And people like myself, you know, do you have Wi-Fi yet, Don?
Yes, I do.
I think I'm on it, but let me just check. So, sorry guys, if you lost me, I'm just trying to connect to the Wi-Fi here. So there we go. So we're back on. So you have this space inside your spirit that demands filling. And this is why we were given a holy book. And in order for us to read the holy book, in order for us to read the holy book and to then reach out to God, and then God, through the power of His Holy Spirit, takes up residence in you, and then that gap is filled. But people fail to do that, and they try to fill that gap with money. They try to fill it with sex. They try to fill it with all kinds of things. You know, if you look at, you know, what is truly the religion in South Africa now? Everybody says Christianity, and everyone says, no, Islam. It's not. It's not. The religion in this country is drinking. That's the religion. And everybody in this country goes every week to go to their church of the bottle store and go and get their potions there. And then they go home, and then when they worship alcohol in this country. People worship alcohol.
Yeah.
And they're trying to use the alcohol to fill this hole. That alcohol cannot. All that alcohol will do when you're trying to fill that hole, or drugs, but I'm on the alcohol now, is it will demand more alcohol and more alcohol and more alcohol, and then eventually you're addicted to alcohol, and then more alcohol, and then it will kill you and you will die. Okay? So this is what it is for me. Yeah. And, you know, yes, when you are destitute, or when you're unemployed, or when you're going through tough times, that hole will demand something fills it, because you're in that state of imbalance, that state of bankruptcy. And you'll find anything to fill it. And for people like myself who were, like I said, at this thing I spoke at on Friday night, I hated everything. And I hated everything because my dad left me, and I hated everything because my mother didn't like me, and I hated because I was fat, and I hated. And then what happened was I grew up in this hatred of myself, hatred of everything around me. And then I went to the South African police, and then what they did was they reinforced that hatred for other people. And then I started developing a hatred for society at large. And then, of course, they gave hatred a badge and a gun. And you must understand at what level you can hate when you have that type of authority behind you and you're 19 years old or 18 years old. And then I tried to fill that hole with hatred, and then hatred led to people that were doing drugs, and then I tried drugs, and that filled the hole a little bit. But even the drugs that I was using at the time, stimulants like LSD and that type of thing, allowed me to hate even more. You know, people used to tell me, I literally looked at a guy one night and I said to him, I was on LSD, and I looked at him and I said, have you ever met the devil? And he burst into tears. And that's when I realized, listen, you really championship hatred going on, yeah. But, ultimately God had a different plan, because from that hatred, God showed me what love is really all about. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. And that love came into me, and then I focused that love on people that hate themselves, hate everything around them at the same level I used to hate it. And we give them Jesus, but we also give them the tools and methodologies that they need to practice Jesus in their recovery. And then they come right, hey? It just shows massive success. If faith-based rehabilitation didn't show the success it shows, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I could promise you, because I'd be dead, he'd be dead, and thousands of other people that were addicts that met Christ that are alive today would be dead. So it definitely works,
Yeah, but we can apply that to any addiction. Of course, there's emptiness, there's seek for people to love you and to like you. That's why you go and seek it at the wrong places for that love and people to like you. And that is the whole thing. Instead of just go back to the foot of the cross, find Jesus, find that perfect love, and then everything will change. Even in your finances. The moment that you make right with God, you will take stewardship for your money. And then materialism will fall away. And you will just steward the money right. And you will use it for what it is. God blessed me to be a blessing. And as he called Dave and other people in this sections now that you're talking about, he went through that experience. So he can talk to people. So listen, that's what happened. So if you are not looking at that and that signs, then you will fall in it. And sometimes we start with a painkiller, medication. And people get addicted to drugs, plain common medication. And that's why you can't use medication for too long, because then you will have a problem. You can't live without that medication. If it is sleeping tablets or whatever, then you have a problem. And that is what he's warning people again, is to make sure that you stay away from this stuff.
So if you go into Revelation, I think it's chapter 18, and it's probably around verse 20, if I remember correctly. It talks about, for these were the great men of the earth, okay? And with their sorcery, they deceived the nations. Now, that word sorcery, directly translated from the Greek word that is used in Revelation there is pharmakeia. So these were the great men of the earth, and through their pharmakeia, they deceived the nations. So, now you've got to draw that in the broad spectrum of the whole thing, okay? I've got a surgeon currently on my program now, a surgeon, okay? An actual doctor, specialist surgeon, right? And I said to him, I made a statement in a group session, and I said that I had heard and I'd read that alcohol is a Schedule 7 medicine pharmacologically. And I said, is that correct? And he said, you're absolutely 100% correct. That is absolutely what it is, right? So if alcohol is a Schedule 7 pharmaceutical, all right, what then is Revelation talking about? That through pharmaceuticals, right? And so what pharmaceuticals are they specifically referring to? Is it my cancer medication? No. Is it my high blood pressure medication? No. These are life-sustaining medications. What they're speaking to there is medications, pharmaceuticals that were then regarded back in those years as potions that would allow you to change your mindset in order that you could be someone different, or in some cases with certain psychedelics and things that they were manufacturing. Way back then, the Romans were a long time busy with potions and that. The Druids, all these types of people, was in order to change your mindset, in order to be able to interact with the gods in inverted commas, which is the spiritual world, right? So if you take brandy, whiskey, rum, okay, under what classification are those alcohols classified? Spirits. Why spirits? Go look it up. You know, so...
So when you say we need a prescription from a doctor to drink, because
what I'm saying is that you shouldn't be drinking. This is what I'm saying. But obviously, because alcohol is such a religion in this country, you know, it's going to fall on deaf ears. You know, we had this praise and worship on Friday night, okay? And people were contacting us to find out if there would be alcohol for sale.
yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I also had people asking me, must I bring my own
Beers.
box?
Yeah. You know, so it's a massive issue, but the reality is that it's not going to change. You know, you can only change individual to individual. You know, they already tried legislating alcohol out of people's lives back in the 1930s. And they realized with alcohol, what they're realizing with drugs, is that you can't legislate it. You've got to appeal to the sensibilities of the individual, that an individual sits back and says, like if I ask this question, right, to any individual, why do you drink?
Yeah.
Why do you drink? What do you get out of drinking, actually?
Because everybody drinking now, I want to drink as well. It's a social thing. And
Because we all get drunk together,
exactly.
right? And then we're all drunk, and then tomorrow we brag about, yes, but did you check how much I drank? You know, and then, oh, that's nothing. How many shooters did you have? I had 50, I had 400, I drank 200. Yeah, this morning, how big was your bubble? Yeah, the bubble like this. You know, I know, I used to drink. I know. I was in the police, but we were the A team of drinking. It used to come to our lessons to learn how to drink. And that's why I started taking drugs as well. Because drugs originally, the first thing I figured out with drugs is drugs allowed me to drink more.
Yes.
And the thing was, and they say if you go to a rugby match on let's say Alice Park, there are families. And then the father, all of that 1 liter.
I've seen that.
And then they are so drunk by the end of the match that they had to find out who won the match the next morning because they didn't see the match at all.
Yeah.
They spent 1,000 rand for tickets, but spent 100 rand on the alcohol and they missed the whole game.
And then,
family out.
and then,
But I don't understand.
then they wake up and they feel and they look like they were actually in the game.
Let's bring this back to what you said earlier, running the Colton Centre. So, there we go, now it's yours. I'm giving you the Colton Centre.
Yeah.
Dave, it's yours. You can do with it whatever you please. What would be the next step?
I'm going to then immediately sell it to the Chinese and leave the country smiling. No, what we would do is we would literally turn it into a holistic, multi-purpose rehab. So we would employ counselors. So you're already creating jobs, all right? We would employ counselors, social workers, nurses, mental health professionals, sports trainers, across the board. We would sit it down and we would plan it exactly what we need, because the Colton Centre has got multiple floors. So you would be able to separate, you would be able to put a mental health facility for people with psychiatric issues that are as a result of their drug abuse. You could have one floor. You could have, or two floors. One floor for men, one floor for women, right? Psychiatric. Then you could have purely substance-related issues, one floor for men, or one floor, or whatever it is, however many floors there are, you could divert it like that, right?
50 floors.
Right? And then you could have your dining areas, which you have. You've got sports facilities there already. You've got a swimming pool. You've got squash courts, I believe, are there. And you could change things. On the roof, you could put up those soccer field type things that they use, like paddle, those fields. You'd have your sports. Everything is integrated right there. Everything is there. Okay? And then another floor could be your hospital for people that are going through chronic withdrawal and acute withdrawal. You could have your medical staff there. So you come in, and the way I would work it is you come in and you start on the top floor, right? Okay? Withdrawal. And then what you do is that you then work yourself down floor by floor. So your senior people that have gone through the program completely are right at the bottom and are nearly ready to leave. And then at the bottom, as part of the whole thing, you'd have skills development programs, and you'd have people coming to teach people how to weld, people teaching people electrical, or whatever they want to do. You'd have a school. There'd definitely be schools as part of that. But that would be towards the end of your program, where people can come and collect you, or you'd have a vehicle available to take these people to MCTA and take them to different places where they can learn a trade, learn a skill, learn business, have business people there teaching guys how to become entrepreneurs, teaching. We can develop specialized policemen within that place to work the drug problem. There's 1,000 million things we could do there, rather than it stand empty and rot. And we could probably take, I think there's 600 rooms in that place. So we could, at any given rate, have 600 people that are not on the street, 600 people that are not killing themselves. We could employ another 400, 500 people there, and we could empower thousands and thousands of people rather than have it sit there and do absolutely nothing and rot. You know what I mean? So I want people to get on board with this thing, because ultimately we would service with the Carlton Hotel primarily and first the people struggling in the city. Hillbrow, Johannesburg City, Bertram's, yes, my friend, a soft place for Bertram's. That's where I did drugs, and I know what's going on there. Randburg, these hotspots, Rosettenville. We would help the people closest to that proximity first, and then spread out to that. And when that works, because it will work, you will obviously have relapses, but the person that walks in through the door at the bottom signs over his life to that treatment facility for a period no less than 1 year. He must understand, or she must understand, when she walks through that door, she's inside that facility for a year, minimum. You understand? After 6 months, we start looking at where we can send these people during the day to do other things. But at a bare minimum, you're going to be locked inside there for 6 months, but all your needs are taken care of. Toiletries, everything. And then we start putting these people into the workplace. They start earning their own living. And then we get another building. And we open a sober living facility in that building. So they move from there. They get their training, what. Now we found them a job. They got a job. They employed sober living, accountability, and then they learn how to live. And Bob's your uncle. It's shown people that do long-term rehabilitation, long-term programs, and then enter into support groups and then are gainfully employed, right? 88% of those people, from statistics from support groups that I'm involved with, 88% recover long-term if they run that full system. And that system is a 2-year system from beginning to end. 88% versus the way that they're trying to shove down our throats, this clinical model, all right, where a small group of people are making millions of rands a year, all right, showing 5% recovery. And the business model is it's a disease. You will relapse, and when you relapse, come back and pay us more money to help you. No, but we don't submit to that. No.
All right, and then lastly, I want to ask you a straightforward question.
Yeah.
the role of law enforcement today in solving the issues that we're facing with drug lords running amok in the streets?
So I've got a solution for that. Greg actually mentioned it to me, but I just said to him it won't work at a municipal level because that type of thing is a national thing, right? So you want the police to be effective in drugs or in any way, right? Let me tell you how to make your policemen successful. Run them on the same principles that a finance company runs. Pay them commission. I'm telling you, pay them commission. Right? So you're a cop, right? Lekker. How many drug dealers did you arrest? What's the value of the drugs? All right, so you arrested 10 drug dealers. Each drug dealer, there's a incentive per drug dealer of $1,000 a month per drug dealer that you arrest. But you only get your incentive once he's convicted. Okay? So it must be a solid thing, right? And then drugs that are confiscated, you get a percentage of the drugs that are confiscated as a commission, right? Every stolen car you recover, you get a percentage of the value of the car as a commission.
That's a new model.
Pay them commission.
They will spark.
And then you competing directly with the guys that are bribing them.
Yes.
Do you know what level of bribe you're going to have to pay a cop who's earning a commission on busts made? Of, let's say, he's earning $100,000 a month now because he's such a good policeman, he's making money, all right? You know what it's going to take to bribe a guy like that. But when a guy is demotivated, demoralized, he's got no reason to go to work, he's getting $12,000 a month, and he's getting nowhere, and a guy comes in, you catch a guy with a kilogram of cocaine, which is Mickey Mouse now, but you catch a guy with a kilo's worth $200,000, and the guy says to him, I'll give you $50,000 to just close your eyes. The guy's going to take it. But if he's earning 100, 150, $200,000 a month based on incentives that the government is paying him to be a good policeman, he's going to tell you to bugger off, and he's going to arrest you for bribery. Because he's going to make common arresting you for the bribery.
But it's concerning for me because don't tell me for 1 minute that your cops and your CPFs don't know who's bringing in the drugs, who's distributing.
Yeah, look.
You'll hear them saying that's a drug house, but I'm not seeing action. I'm not seeing them running in there, confiscating, shutting it down.
Well, it's the same problem that Mkwanazi is actually hammering on about. The police can do all the work, all right? But if the National Prosecuting Authority is A, too lazy to do the work, or B, is captured themselves, then what happens is, and it happens all the time, and you got criminal cops, right? So you arrest the guy, you go through this whole process of getting your warrants, all of that, you search the place, you find the drugs, you arrest the guy, you put him in, you got 2-3 corrupt cops in the police station. Before you get back on the street, that oak is back selling drugs. So until we can eliminate that, this is what is frustrating, particularly the CPFs in our area, is that there's no follow-through whatsoever from the next phase of law enforcement. So they know where the drug house is, they do the bust, gets to the police station, the docket gets thrown in the dustbin, everything goes missing, there's a bribe paid here and a bribe paid there, and nothing happens further. And that is completely demoralizing. So here's my strategy, right? First of all, I want to go to Wits University, right? And I want to pick 3 or 4 of those graduates that are finishing their law degree now, right? Give them to me and give them to guys that understand law, private attorneys that are constantly caning the prosecutors because they understand the law. Pay those lawyers to teach those prosecutors for a year. They do their articles for a year under those lawyers. Then we bring them to the courts, all right? And we pay them proper money, all right? We open a drug court and we have our own prosecutors, right? Obviously, we can't have our own magistrates, but we will hand select which magistrates we want for this job, right? We put that magistrate there with those prosecutors, and then we open our own DEA, all right? So, in other words, like the Scorpions, all right, but that function independently. They're answerable only to Parliament, and they don't answer to the cops. All right, they don't answer to the cops, they don't answer to the NPA. They must be we must find the legislation to make this happen. I don't know how it happened. But they don't answer to anyone other than the minister in charge of them. So the Minister of Drug Law Enforcement, all right, who must also be uncorruptible, okay? Then you'll start seeing changes. And the way to attack drugs, this way that we're doing it, find a warrant, go and hit the house, look for the drugs, hope you're going to find the drugs, or on the off chance someone tells you there's 100 kilos or a ton of cocaine coming in a container, and on the off chance you catch it on information, you're never going to stop it that way. The way that you need to do it from law enforcement is you have to yourself, as a cop, become a drug dealer and infiltrate the syndicates. And then you have to pass that information out. This is what they're doing in America. They're taking recovering addicts, they're putting them in the DEA and the FBI, and you check the success these acts are showing. They're showing immense success, right? But that's the only way from law enforcement that you're going to do it. You know, this hit and run, hit and run, hit and run. Yeah, we know where the drug houses are, okay? We hit the drug house, we find nothing. Now what?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, of course.
But we're going to hit them. Listen, I want to tell you, if you're dealing drugs in Midvaal, I'm giving you good advice now, right? As the chairman of the local drug action committee, I'm giving you good advice. If you're selling drugs or you're involved with drugs in the Midvaal area, do yourself a very good favor. If you want to carry on making money this way and you want to sell drugs, move your shop anywhere else, but get out of this area, because we're coming for you, and we're coming for you hard. I'm telling you now, you've been warned. Lekker.
Brilliant. All right.
I want to take it back one step, Donovan, for a long-term solution. We have to come back to the root of everything. The thing is the unemployment. It came down now by 2%, so we have only a 31% unemployment rate, which is a huge success for South Africa, but it's still 30% too much people that are unemployed. That is the first thing. Secondly, we have to get our parents back to the basics when they raise the children. You can go to any restaurant. There's a family and we're going to eat together, but everybody's on their own cell phone. People are not eating around the dining table anymore. If I come to a house, I'm asking always, where's the table? No, we don't have the table. No, okay. No, I really want it. Where are you eating? In front of a TV. So when are you talking to one another? When are you teaching your children the right values? And you promise at all that, say, I will raise my children in God's ways, but you don't do it. You have to spend time. It's easy to get children, but it's a damn hard job to raise them. And you have to put in that effort to raise them so that we can have a healthy society 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Correct.
But for the interim, the solution here is very good. And I have that same vision and dream, to buy out the area and convert it into a house of safety, a training center, get people from the street, but we have to start 100%. With their spirit first to change that mindset. Because you can go to the robot, you can ask that person, listen, I want to paint my house, come help me now, stand, I make more money here at the corner. Why begging? You have to change his mind. And that's why you have to start with the spirit first, change that spiritual mindset, get him back where it belongs, and then start working with him. Otherwise, you're not going to win the battle anyway. If you don't start with the spiritual mindset of the people, get him back where it belongs.
You see, that boils down to a self-esteem thing. You understand? For that guy, he doesn't understand the value of the self-esteem that you gain, that when you work for something and you receive something in return for him, it's just the basic of get the X amount. It's not even so. I'm telling you, 90% of those guys that are begging, 90% are drug users.
Yes.
So they're not begging for survival. They're begging because they already have major self-esteem issues. So the drugs kills those self-esteem issues, and the shortest way to the money is through begging. And they always say to you, but at least I don't steal. I want to tell you, there's probably a higher self-esteem within a thief than there is within a beggar. You know what I mean? So, because there's risk involved, there's planning involved, there's all those things involved, and then you successfully commit the crime, so you get a level of self-esteem. Those guys are so downtrodden and so broken that the shortest way to kill that feeling is to beg. Now, if you're earning 3 grand a day or 1,000 rand a day begging, okay, the financial sense will tell you a grand a day begging versus 180 rand a day working. And that's how they quantify it. But they don't understand that the value is not in the money. The value is in the way that you feel about yourself when you complete a task. You know, and that's, I agree, so I'm agreeing with you, and just coming from a different view, is that once you change the mindset in terms of the value found is not just purely a financial value, but you find value in yourself as a human being because you are now productive and contributing. You know, and that's where the mindset. So we just had it now. There's a very nice man. He donates all kinds of things to the center, eggs and bread and all kinds of things. And then he came to us and he said, I want to sponsor 2 guys to the center. And we said, great. And he says, here's the 2 guys, 2 brothers that he found on the streets of the south of Joburg, right? And both of them are chronic heroin addicts, right? The one, okay, has got septicemia in his leg, and the other guy. Anyway, we take these guys in. The first guy we refer to state hospital to sort out the leg. We can't take him in like that. The second guy we bring in, we check him out. We see he's starting to go into acute withdrawal. We start talking about, all right, we've got to send him for detox. Before we can even get to that process, this guy hits a window out at the center, cuts his hand open, everything. We rush him to the hospital. Now him and his brother at the hospital. We said to them, as soon as you guys are finished here at the hospital, just give us a call and we'll come pick you up. And we can both of them straight back to Rosettenville, straight back to the street. So it's what I'm saying through this whole thing is if you want to help people like that, let us assess the people. Don't you go and try and assess the person that is telling you that they want to help, because they don't. It's raining, it's cold. They want to get out of the rain and cold for 3-4 days. You're going to pay 7,000-10,000 rand or whatever you're going to put in for that guy. Non-refundable, all right? After 4 days, the guy's going to come outside, he's going to see the sun shining, he's going to demand to leave, and your money's gone. Rather, help the guys that are already there, that are not paying to be there. Do you understand what I'm saying? So let us assess the guys. After a week or 2 on the program, then we'll say to you, all right, brother, this looks like he wants to do his thing. Put money in. But don't go around the streets just trying to pick up willy-nilly addicts because you're trying to be a good Christian. Speak to people that are professionals that know. We know. And we get it wrong a lot as well. So if we get it wrong a lot, imagine what your chances are that knows nothing about it. Invest in the system. The system will invest in the correct people, is what I'm trying to say to you.
Absolutely. All right, we're out of time, but
fantastic.
I wish we had more time because I love these talks.
Well, I've been promised my own show, but it's not forthcoming.
It is forthcoming sooner than you can imagine. All right, guys. So yeah, thank you so much.
I hope it's a 5-hour show.
Your show's time this morning.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Andre. I appreciate it.
I know your passion and your commitment, and you're also a Christian, and you always that's what I always appreciate about your shows. You'll dedicate some time to the finance side, and you'll always bring in.
You're here to make a difference. That's why we're called to make a difference. We are the influence, and if we don't do it, who's going to do it? And you know, we can send you. We must say, here we are, sent us.
And let's just close on this. You know, this is what a lot of people don't understand. You know, yes, we're all spiritual, we all believe in God, we're all of that. But nothing turns in the natural.
Yep.
Jesus speaks about it all the time. Money. Yeah. Money is what makes things turn. And you have to earn money in order to help the people you need to help. But you have to earn the money. You know, God is not an investment portfolio. No. But if you're using your money correctly, God will definitely push more money your way in order that you can help more people, right? There's a lot of people out there that believe in God that are struggling, all right? But it's not because God doesn't want to bless them. It's because they don't understand how to work with money. And people like Andre will help you learn how to work with your money correctly in order that you can be successful, in order that you can bless people.
What about stewardship?
It is stewardship. It's the story of the talents. It's the story of the unjust steward. It's all about stewardship, managing it.
All right, guys. Thank you again for giving up your valuable time. Remember, the door's always open at MCR if you guys want to be here. It's just always such a pleasure having you guys here. It just warms my heart that you guys can give up your valuable time for our little station out here in the All right.
Lekker.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Today, and we'll be back again tomorrow with the Pastor Dave and the team to do the drug rehab show.
Yeah, thank you. God bless. Cheers.